A Minneapolis police officer made over $500,000 last year, and that's largely because he had so much overtime. It was almost 300,000 just in overtime. We found that overtime is at a record high in Minneapolis last year at $28 million, which was about $12 million over budget for the year. And the reason for that is that ever since George Floyd was killed by Minneapolis police in 2020, officers have been leaving in droves. And those who are left have to pick up a lot more shifts and do a lot of overtime just to police the streets. So high that the police chief took a look at it and did an audit of some of the top overtime earners to see whether the numbers were accurate and everything was kosher, and found a few problems. And so an internal affairs investigation has been launched into the officers overtime.
Okay. All right. I'm putting cases on all you bitches.
Ouch. Right in the heart with a silver bullet.
I think they plotting on man. Don't bite big feet when they enter the L.A.R. I feel a cold stab.
What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscribe or die trying. Minnesota cops quit because of George Floyd? I'm not. Here's the thing. It could be salacious or it could be believable. That's just how bad it is at this particular point. So, as she said, a police officer made $500,000 overtime. I know you worked your butt off. I'm not saying anything. You're not the problem. But basically, people are like, oh, okay, people quit because of or moved or went to different stations, I'm guessing, outside of Minneapolis because of the George Floyd situation. I'm gonna tell you why that don't make sense. But it's believable because we've heard in America and we've seen in America in the last 10 years how, cops play the, hey, well, we'll just quit and see what happens and watch. You'll need us. We won't, patrol your area anymore. You're gonna beg for us. We've seen that before. We've seen cops not be cops because they felt like, oh, people were, let's just say, confronting them about their corruption, for the corrupt ones' corruption. So here's the problem with that. So if it's true, George Floyd is who you blaming, and he died 5 years ago. 4 years prior to that, police officers killed Philando Castile. National news. I think a few years prior to that, the Somali cop shot the white woman from Australia and went to jail. So nobody quit for those things. It wasn't, I'm out of here. But you feel like, cops killing a man and it being, in egregious fashion is a national story. And then you get the people, oh, he died from a drug overdose. The last time I checked, you don't need somebody knee on your neck to suffocate you if you overdose from drugs. That's just something you say because you're stupid and you're racist and you enjoy people getting killed. That's your personal reason. You're going to hell, just for the record. I said it. But the other thing about this is this. You're going to have police officers, if this is the case, they're going to get burnt out and they're going to move on. Person do this 4 years, he make $2 million. I don't know what he going to do. He might, hey, look, I got house paid for, car paid for, I'm out. I use my expertise somewhere else. The city overpaying, considering their budget, they're $12 million over budget from paying overtime. Here's the thing. People that say the city overpays other employees who don't do anything. So nobody's going to bat an eye if you pay police officers for working overtime and doing their job and quote unquote keeping the streets safe and keeping the people in your city safe. Nobody's going to complain about that. If the city got an issue with it, that's a city personal problem. That's how it's going to be looked at. The police though, and when I was younger, caveat, one of the places I lived, there was police corruption. It was rampant, and it got so bad that people started getting into it with the police, and the corruption got so bad that the police got kicked out, and they had to bring like the state troopers to actually patrol the place because people got tired of it. So part of this whole thing, like, just know the visual of even saying that, like the cops quit because of George Floyd, for certain people in America is believable because it's unfortunate to say it this way, but it's true. Like, we've seen people pack it up and move on because they couldn't get away with crime on a consistent basis, or somebody got at them about it. Like, but at the same time, let me, be on the other side of that. Sometimes people say this stuff because it's salacious, and it's like, oh, it drums up um, eyes and ears for interaction because of the racial component to it, and you're gonna have people on one side or the other. You get what I'm saying? And because it doesn't necessarily, and it's the sad thing about it, what she says, even though it's news, it doesn't necessarily have to be true, but America's history makes it believable. So it could be kind of like, that's the most salacious reason, but it's probably number 15 out of 20. You get what I'm saying? So that's part of this whole thing also. Now, the other thing is, and this is a national thing, this because this had been for a while. Police had a recruiting problem, you know. So the question is, can you recruit other people? And probably not. Probably not. You don't hear people wanting to be a police officer, just like you don't hear people signing up to be in the military. It's a similar thing. So I'm not going to necessarily say uh, criminal behavior is going to win, but I'm going to say that so people, the vast majority of America have had too many bad altercations with people wearing a badge that were unjustified. You get what I'm saying? Because I do know some people. Um, there's some people that are absolutely right that they're getting that people are being cops are being extra with them. And then there's sometimes where no, you're being extra with the cops. So I get that. I've been down that road. So, but I can say that there have been too many unnecessary interactions. You know, I remember, and here's the other thing about that. There's a portion of those unnecessary interactions that aren't even the cops' fault. And this is what I mean. There are people who call the police out on people, and they embellish and lie and make it bigger than it is, so the cops show up on 10. And that's a normal thing too. So sometimes it is that situation where, because those people who make the calls and talk crazy, they don't, they're not going to jail for that. They're not getting arrested for that for the most part. They just get to, just be citizens. And I've had that happen before. So it's one of those things before more than once, but but that's one of those things. And then I'll say this also, going back to the unnecessarily bad interactions. Um, because there is a lack of consequences, you know, And because it became rampant, it wasn't just, a black issue or a black and or a brown issue. It, be, it became an American issue. But I will say, like, white people, y'all, sometimes the cops do y'all dirty for sure. But sometimes I don't understand what y'all own. Like walking around with guns because you know your rights, and cameras, and filming people just and antagonizing people because you got nothing better to do. That's not what's up. That's not what's up. You saw the story recently about, even in Louisiana, how uh, some people who are immigrants or illegal immigrants, they would lie to the police and say they got assaulted and they got robbed because it fast tracks your visa to get immigration, and that's happened in some of these domestic violence situations. It's that happens with that because, oh, I was abused, now you can get shelter, yada yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. So I say that to say, with a lot of these situations, you got a bunch of people using the cops, and then you got a bunch of cops who are just out of pocket. And it's mixed together because of the public's interaction with it. And it all looks bad. So now it's like, oh, what's bad about this situation? It doesn't look like the police are willing to fix their part because so many guys quit. So many men and women quit. And it's like, okay, well, y'all quit. And it's not one of those things where people are going to applaud it like, oh, good for them. No, it's people like, bullies do quit when they get addressed. That's how it's going to look. So it's an interesting story. Take from it what you want. Um, I don't live in Minnesota. I should have asked somebody, Solo, I should have asked you first, you know. But I'm going to leave it at that. Y'all tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Peace.